Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, exciting to share this story with you. It taps back through my experience searching for porphyries through the East Lachlan, and we're certainly participating with this portfolio in terms of a renaissance which is happening and unfolding for porphyry discovery through the East Lachlan. So I'll go through the Magmatic's target portfolio and our strategy in the East Lachlan, which is really gets forgotten, especially the West Australians, but it hosts Cadia East, which is Australia's largest producing gold mine currently at 1.4 billion free cash flow last year, 32 million tonne per annum operation, and other significant, globally significant mining operations in that area, including North Parkes and Cowal. The advanced target portfolio that Magmatic has is mainly a function of counter-cyclical acquisition from Goldfields back in 2014, when you remember all the majors were fleeing the country. But up until that point, Goldfields had spent doing a lot of the building the data sets up and over $14 million of expenditure. So we're certainly not starting our journey in terms of building up those data sets. We've got quite an advanced target portfolio. And in my experience with the Alkane team and Ian Chalmers in that Boda area, so certainly I'll talk a lot today about the Northern Molong Belt and the significance of that along strike north from Cadia, and the significance of the Boda hit in terms of showing the industry what the surface expression is and the signature, which is a very unique signature as well. So Magmatic's extremely well placed for near-term Cadia-style discoveries in that area. But we're not the one-trick pony. We've certainly got other pretty exciting exploration assets. Again, a gold discovery hotspot coming out of New South Wales in the Parkes Fault Zone, south of Alkane's Tomingley gold operations there. We're well funded, and the usual disclaimer, your leisure. Corporate snapshot. We raised $5 million last week. We've got a lot of options in the money. We're going to be very well funded by mid-year by the looks of things. I came on a couple of weeks ago there's been some shuffling within the board there, but really sort of good balance of skill sets there from what I can see. We've got a pretty tight corporate structure as well, capital structure. And so just stepping back and look at the East Lachlan, so you can see the two main belts of interest include the Molong Belt, which hosts Cadia Valley. That's where we go looking for gold porphyries. And I'll certainly talk a lot today about this area in the northern extent. There's a lot of convincing overlaid evidence which suggests that the next major area along the Molong Belt of interest is this northern extents before it then extends undercover further to the north there. But Magmatic also has porphyry ground north of North Parkes in this Junine Narromine belt. We go looking for copper porphyry clusters in that area. And as I said, the Parkes project south in the Parkes Fault Zone, just south of the Tomingley gold operations. But it's worth dwelling on Cadia East and the significance of that. I mentioned some numbers, but it is the largest alkalic gold porphyry of its type ever discovered. It's Australia's top producing gold mine, and Ridgeway still is the highest grade gold porphyry ever discovered. So very significant on the global scale. I'll talk a lot about this Northern Molong Belt opportunity. We can see, I mentioned that back a few years ago, everyone fled Australia, and now we're seeing the movement back at the majors, recognising the prospectivity, but also that things can be done there, and certainly sovereign risk-wise, this stacks up pretty well for other porphyry trains globally. And touching again on the fact that we're really coming in at an advanced stage. It's an advanced target portfolio that we're now leveraging off and accelerating our exploration from. So the Goldfields did a lot of that baseline work for us, and some excellent data sets in which to launch from. So the Northern Molong Belt, the Boda discovery is obviously once in a generation sort of event. No one really saw it coming, although I spent 9 years working in that corridor within the Alkane team, and lots of failed sort of drilling programs as we were drilling these pyrite bodies that we thought were upper level porphyry manifestations. But eventually we came down towards that boulder area, and there was something quite distinct about that boulder area and the pyrite we were seeing there. When we started to get to the level of sophistication of multi-element geochemistry, porphyry pathfinder signatures, it all started to make sense. And so for me, the proof of concept that came through as part of that porphyry hit there really highlighted and re-ranked a lot of the targets on this magmatic ground. So clearly, spatially, Magmatic has a very dominant position, tenure-wise, in this part of the world, but it really comes back, much more importantly, to the level of those advanced targets. We started using MIMDAS geophysics, electrical geophysics, which is very successful in the Cadia Valley area, and Newcrest are promoting the fact that that is a very effective technique there. And what that's doing for us is incredibly powerful. We already like what we see, for example, at this Lady Ilsa target, which is our most advanced northern mole-long belt target. It's a Boda lookalike from every sense in terms of low-level gold and porphyry pathfinders mapped within RC drilling over about a 200 metre wide zone there. At this sort of stage of exploration, it actually looks a little bit wider than Boda, and certainly it's consistent with the overall exploration model that we use for looking for the Cadia East and these alkalic gold porphyries in the East Lachlan, in terms of looking for this big mass of disseminated pyrite over the top of the porphyry zones. So we're ticking a lot of boxes here straight away, but what the MIMDAS can do for us is then just start mapping that out in 3D. So difficult to see, obviously, from where you are, but there's the RC drilling has defined the Boda lookalike in the case of Lady Ilsa there. Here, the chargeability image, again from the MIMDAS, is suggesting that equivalent porphyry feature at Lady Ilsa compared to Boda is probably about 3 times the width. So we're seeing a real scale jump here. We know this is porphyry-derived pyrite. You know, the proof of concept happened, and we've drilled a lot of pyrite in that part of the world, and this is a real indicator in my mind that you're dealing with a fertile gold porphyry system. And what you also get with MIMDAS, because Cadia systems have a heap of albite around the shoulders and over the top of them, it sets up a very resistive backdrop. We're looking for resistive features underneath that pyrite halo. And sure enough, that's what we're getting. So we would have drilled this hole regardless of this data set. It hasn't moved that much. We probably moved it slightly further east. This will happen next month. We'll start to drill these targets and understand it. But there's a lot of ducks lining up here, and this is sort of as close as it gets in my experience of hunting for another Cadia East. And we can see, you know, this is much more akin, the scale of this now, to Cadia East. This is a 500 metre scale bar there. This is 500 to 600 metres wide by the looks, that pyrite halo over the top of this thing, indicating preservation of the porphyry, which in these old fold belts we think a lot about, is the thing still intact? Clearly, the MIMDAS data set that we're building is indicating we have an intact system on our hands. It's definitely got all the ingredients to be a Boda lookalike. We'd be happy with a Boda type hit at this point, but I think we've got something of a much bigger scale on our hands here. And not to discount some of the other opportunities within the Magmatic portfolio. We have the north of North Parkes, the Mile project, where all the indications there suggest that we're dealing with another North Parkes porphyry cluster. All of the known porphyry systems in the East Lachlan and globally, many of them are clustered by nature, so you don't end up with just one ore body. So we feel like we've got quite a few shots, especially in that northern mole-long belt. And touching on the Parkes fault zone, whereby there's been some quite startling and fantastic hits by the Alkane team south of Tomingley, 80 metres, a bit over 4 grams, and so we feel like this is also well worth directing some of our attention towards, because we've got 20 kilometres of strike of these very similar looking orogenic gold plays with similar hits at equivalent level of exploration. when you compare those areas. So the highlights are very well placed. We've got the knowledge and the team at the right time. The advanced target portfolio, we're not about to spend 5 years now building those data sets up. The Northern Molong Belt is emerging as a globally significant discovery hotspot for gold-rich porphyries. Cadia-style things, they are evidence for them still being preserved there. We're well placed to be a dominant player in that particular area, but we also have a good strategic holding in the Parkes Fault Zone, and we're now accelerating activity. Thank you very much.